You did say that you want this podcast to be a little more vulnerable and things I have not often shared
Unfiltered,
publicly
yes.
in other interviews, right?
From-
Yeah. So to be that clueless for a teenager who's like 16, 17 is very difficult. Finding your passion, that whole idea is very bullshit to me. But becoming passionate about things that you do, yes, I totally agree to that. So I think
this idea of saying that, hey, I'm going to start my own thing, is this something that happened in college or?
So it was not easy because when you come from a middle class background and you go to a college like Xavier, and I didn't know, like in fact I had to fight a lot with my family. I had no idea about the hype of Xavier's. I never knew it was like one of the best colleges for arts. Like I was not fighting because, oh, it's a great college and I want to be there. I was fighting because I felt like
Principal was Father Fraser Mascarenes.
yes.
Yeah. So amazing. I've learned a lot from him.
Father Fraser during our orientation mentioned about this, and this point has stuck in my head is that
Mr. Jadhav, I'm not sure if you've heard about this, but yes, history. Yeah. So for almost a week, I was avoiding him because I didn't want to pay him the money. He said something very beautiful. It changed me as a teenage guy. He said, "It is not about the money. It was never about the money. You made a promise. You did not keep it."
I feel like in Xavier's, the culture itself was a big way to introduce life, to you.
You have 100 connections on LinkedIn. It is as good as having 1,000 followers on Instagram. Is there any truth to it? It had a deep impact on me, especially growing on LinkedIn. So a big thank you to you.
I have no memory of this. I'm sorry. I really don't.
Hi, thank you so much for tuning in once again. Maridas here, the host of Coachee Diaries podcast, and I warmly welcome you. Today is a very special day for me because I am going to interview and talk to someone who had an impact on my life. Possibly she has no clue about it, and we would like to see her reaction as I spill the beans on this. A couple of years ago, when I was looking at growing professionally, there are tons of people out there, by the way, on LinkedIn. If you are on LinkedIn and you're trying to grow, you'll find a lot of people reaching out to you, sponsored ads, or maybe just sliding into your DM saying they can actually help you to grow, gather followers, promote your product, grow big on LinkedIn. And while I was doing all of this, in fact, I was even added to a WhatsApp group. It was a very weird group. You had option to post only if you engage on other people's content. And in that moment, while I couldn't digest how and unethical ways of growing on LinkedIn, that is when I came across profile of Sharon. And Sharon, I'm not even sure if you remember this, but I had reached out to you. I had sent you a message asking you if you could help me, just give me some tip. You had actually sent me a PDF for 30 days of what content to post. And it is all thanks to you that, back then when I was just about 100 people, today I'm at about 2,000 people. I still follow those strategies. So a big thank you to you.
I have no memory of this. I'm sorry. I really don't.
It's not just random that I specifically asked for you to be on the podcast. You had a deep impact on me, especially growing on LinkedIn. So yeah, that is what it is. By the way, for all those people, this is Sharon Lobo. Sharon Lobo, my bad. Yeah, by the way, if you are meeting her anywhere and you're going to happen to talk to her, name is not Sharon, it's Sharon. Get it right. I'll try to do justice throughout the podcast. Okay, Sharon. By the way, Sharon is the CEO for Quirky Media. And just like the name suggests, and we are obviously going to ask her a lot of quirky questions throughout the interview process. But she is the CEO, founder for Quirky Media, and what she has been able to achieve in the last couple of years. By the way, she started working, I guess, what was it, about 15-ish?
15, yes.
Okay, 15, 16 in that tender age. I think what I was doing in 15, 16. Can't even properly remember. But yeah, 15, 16, that is when she started working. For the last 10 years, she has been making a lot of people's life much easier that impact, possibly which people like Sharon don't even recollect, because they've helped people in ways without even someone acknowledging them. So through the podcast, a huge thank you, Sharon, for helping me that way. Now, just to give a little bit about Sharon, so because she has been doing so much of amazing work, uh, people have been acknowledging her work as well. So you won the India Film Project, which is Asia's largest content fest, right?
Yes, that was, yes, it was in the professional category. So where we did a film for 50 hours, and of course there was the director and the whole team, and together we participated in this competition and won in the professional category.
Wow, that is absolutely brilliant. So to just count a few of things, okay, so won the India Film Project, Creative Entrepreneur Award, right, 2021.
Yeah,
And you also got Emily Dickinson Award,
yeah,
21st
for
century,
poetry.
yeah, for poetry. Okay, amazing. So that is all things coming up. I used to follow, TTT, terribly tiny tales on Instagram at one point of time. Amazing, short stories. And I know to be able to put all together, a beautiful message which evokes a lot of emotion within those two sentences takes a lot of creative thinking. By the way, you were also working on the first edition of TTT, right?
Yeah, so
Uh,
my work was published.
mhm.
I had sent in my copy, which got featured on their page. This was in their very initial days, and then later on, when it grew, they sort of decided to come out with a book, and then they published from the thousands that they had. They published 100 of them, like 100 small stories into one book, and then my work was featured in that.
Wow, wow. By the way, you have done a lot of YouTube script. You
Yeah.
have been an English into English literature. You studied from St. Xavier's. By the way, same college. Amazing people. And I remember,
Nice.
as and if you are a Xavierite, as they rightly say, it's not just a college; it's a way of life.
Yes.
Somewhere what you learn within those boundaries, within the foyer there, with the canteen, with the people, the kind of time you spend, it really stays with you forever. And I'm very
Yeah.
happy to meet a fellow Xaverite. You
Me
were
too. We are
also,
always happy.
yeah, I know, right? You're also happen to be the president for BNI, is it?
Yeah, so for BNI, we have multiple different chapters, and I
Correct.
have done 3 or 4 terms of being the president. I'm currently also the president of my chapter.
Amazing. And being an in fact, just to let you know, recently I've shifted to Ahmedabad, and most of the people professionally whom I talk to about, reaching out to, a good network who could actually help me set up things here. Everyone has been just saying that you should join BNI. So maybe that is one thing
Absolutely.
that I could use some help.
One more platform which I honestly believe in has created massive impact for business owners and entrepreneurs. If you do it right, it's a great platform to be a part of and continue. I've been there for 5 years now, so it's been a long time.
Interesting. Would love to know a lot about this. In fact, for all the viewers who might be joining in, here is what we're going to do. We're going to talk to Sharon about her journey. So a lot of people, she's got more than 7,000 plus followers on LinkedIn alone. And Sharon, do let me know if this is right. When I was starting early on my LinkedIn journey, someone said if you have 100 connections on LinkedIn, it is as good as having 1,000 followers on Instagram. Is there any truth to it?
Absolutely. I think honestly, with Instagram, also the following, unfollowing is very easy. And a lot of it is very in the moment decisions, right? Like I like some content and I quickly follow it. So, one thing to understand on LinkedIn massively is the difference between connections and followers, which I keep telling all of my clients as well, that connections is your network. They are people that you have connected to and you can message them and you have direct access to them, right? Followers are people that are following your content but do not have direct access to you. So I feel that having those connections become very important more than followers, because followers, yes, they come and go and they're growing constantly, they're engaging with your content, but any kind of work or life decisions that you want to make or get in touch with people for, then connections become sort of your North Star.
Absolutely brilliant. So, what we're going to do in the first part of this short conversation, brief conversation, we are going to look at Sharon's journey. How did how was it growing up? What are some of the values that she possibly learned from her childhood days? Maybe from her colleagues, from her parents, from her teachers. What are some of the things? What really helped her to get into that journey of saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing? Because to let me know if this is right, when you started about that age, there are not a lot of supporters. They obviously tell you, hey, you know what, go to college, get a degree, get a job, have a stable income, have a secure life. But you started your own journey, entrepreneurship. You have been helping a lot of people, and bad as multipreneur, right? So it's not just one, you're doing multiple things. So what really
Yeah.
prompted you? That is something we'll explore. But one of the important question, and if anyone who's been regular onto the channel, they know through the podcast we ask a very important question, which is, what is the will of life? Are we leading life meaningfully with purpose? If not, then why not? And if Sharon has found a purpose, if she is leading life meaningfully, what are some of the lessons we can learn from her so that we too can get onto the same path? Having said that, Sharon, thank you so much for tuning in for the podcast and accepting that request. Warm welcome.
Thank you.
Do tell us a little bit about your journey, right? As I was talking, you were in Xavier's. Is this idea of saying that, hey, you know what, I'm going to start my own thing? Is this something that happened in college, or was it way before?
No. I feel like my life is full of surprises, to be very honest. None of it is planned, which is so contrary to how I am as a person, because I'm this super type A sort of a person where everything has to be planned to the T. My calendar is very noted, and you must have realized that with all the
Yeah, I did.
coordination that you did for the podcast. Like, it has to happen a certain way. There is so much detailing that goes into everything, which is me as a personality, but that is so contrary to how spontaneous a life I have led so far. So when I say now, when I look back and say, hey, I started working at 15, it was not an intention of saying that, hey, I want to start working, right? It was small internships, gigs I started doing, which later on I understood the term is called internships, but I just did them. I started volunteering in places and all of those things. So that's when it started. Xavier's would definitely be a turning point in my life. Again, I did not willingly go to Xavier's. So one of my friends said that, hey, there is a college. I was like so into this small world of what I have grown into. My school was like 5 minutes away from my house, so it was just school and home, and that's it, right? That is just one station in that locality that I've always grown up with. So in fact, one of my friends said that, Sharon, you know what, there is a college called Xavier's, and that time we had offline forms, right? So why don't we go there and get a form and fill it, and that could be good. And I was like, okay. I had no idea about the hype of Xavier's. I never knew it was like one of the best colleges for arts, like in so many places. It was known, so many great artists have come out of that place. And to even think that this is a random incident that happened, a friend just suggested. I went with her father to fill in the form, and I just got admission in Xavier's. And I didn't know, like, in fact, I had to fight a lot with my family, because they were like, you have never been out of this Andheri locality, and they're like, why don't you go to Bandra, which is sort of close by. Andrews is also like a Catholic college, you can go there. And in my head, I have no idea of distance, right? So I'm like, if I can go to Andrews, why can't I go to Xavier's? And they're like, because that's Churchgate and it's going to take you longer. And I never understood it. So I was like, no, I have to go to this college because I've got an admission. And I was not fighting because, oh, it's a great college and I want to be there. I was fighting because I felt like when I went to that campus, this is the place that I want to be. So I think that was one of a very defining moments of my life where I could sort of go to the college, and it was not easy. Let me say that, because you did say that you want this podcast to be a little more vulnerable and things I have not often shared
Unfiltered.
publicly in
Yes.
other interviews, right? Yeah. So it was not easy, because when you come from a middle class background and you go to a college like Xavier, where most of them are in the uber rich category, right? It becomes very difficult because you are also from an SSC board. People that are there who have come are people who have struggled very hard in academic sense, or not struggled at all in the life sense, right? So these are the two categories, and I was not fitting in either of the categories. I was not like very academically sound to say that, hey, you know what, I'm in the top 90% or whatever, let me chill with you guys. Or I was not in the uber rich category of saying, let me hang out with you guys. So I think there was a little bit of identity crisis in the first 2 years of my college, of me just trying to figure out, one, teenage years, and second, all the travel, getting out of the house, and then sort of being looked at in a certain direction. And teenagers can be very harsh when judging people. So that's one more thing, right? So I remember this incident where I am sort of sitting in my English class, and we are discussing some book, and people are like asking questions and coming up with opinions. And at that point, I'm like, can I not think? Like, have I not been able to think at all? Like, have I not been taught this? Like, to the extent of saying that, okay, I don't know where these questions are come from. So to be that clueless for a teenager who's like 16, 17 is very difficult. So I think, but I never, honestly, all of this is in retrospect. When I was living it, none of this was difficult for me. Like in my senior year of college, I used to go to college. I got an internship. Which was, the college was in town. The internship was in Lobo, to give audience, the people who are
Some
seeing
context, yeah.
distance, yeah, that would be like around 30-35 minutes from where the college and the internship was. And I used to take a bus. So the 35 minutes was then like 1 hour, because you wait for the bus and all those things. So I used to go to college in the morning, leave house around 6:30 or ish, attend college, which used to get over around 1:32, then go to my internship, do 3 hours internship, and then go back to college, because I had to do extracurricular, because we had like 60 hours of compulsory extracurricular, and do that, and then come back home. By the time I'm home, it's like 10:30ish, and sleep, and then do the same thing again. And I have done this for multiple months, but not once have I cribbed or complained. And that does not come from a place of, oh, I don't want to be a whiny person. It came from a place of like, I didn't even know this is struggle. Like it was just something which I was so passionately into. Like I loved going to college, I loved going to the internship, I loved doing the extracurriculars. So I feel that because I was so passionate about something that I was doing, again, finding your passion, that whole idea is very bullshit to me. But becoming passionate about things that you do, yes, I totally agree to that. So I feel none of this came as a struggle, but these would be like the few defining key moments in my life and how the journey came about. But if you ask me about why I started my company, honestly, again, my friend forced me into it. So basically, after in my last year of college, I got an internship with a spatial perception startup that was based in Bombay Stock Exchange. And I did work 2 years in that company before starting my own. So I was in that company, and after I graduated from college, I started working full time there. And that's when I met a friend who sort of then kind of he was from IIT, and we used to always hang out together and all those things. And when I quit that job, and the only reason I quit that job is because I felt like there was no need for a marketing position. Otherwise, I would have continued. So when I quit that job, I was like 20, and I'm like, I have like my whole life to figure things out. I don't want to rush things and all of that. So I just started taking freelancing gigs. And so when I took one, I'm like, but I do have a lot of time, and I loved working. So I'm like, let me take one more, and let me take one more. And then it sort of like kept growing. And at one point, my friend said, if you want to scale a company, you have to register it. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And then he's like, you have to do the process of having it officially done and things like that. And I'm like, why would I do that? Like, so then he was like, okay, why don't I register a company and you become the CEO? And I said, that doesn't make sense. I quit a company and now I will work for you. Like, it doesn't make sense. So he's like, then you should register one. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense, because my background is coming from a whole family of teachers. So none of them
Interesting.
have ever been in the entrepreneurship space, right? Like all of them, all their lives have been teachers. Like I have, like my mother plus her 4 sisters, which are aunts, all of them are teachers. My dad teaches Hindi Marathi. His family is into
Wow.
teaching. So everyone is a teacher, and here I am being like, at 21, let me start a company. So it was a crazy idea, at least for my family. My parents, I think even now they fairly have a sense of what I do, but they didn't have a clue of what I was doing. So no, I know a lot of people, and it is also coming from privilege, right? I'm not going to brush that through. I think you need to acknowledge that I did, even though I came from a middle class family, my parents supported my education. They wanted me to study more. They let me have that space of being like, okay, do whatever you want to, quit your job, quit your job. You want to freelance, right? I had that safety net of coming to a house which was ours, and which had that stability, so I could go explore. So yeah, there is some bit of privilege that, in spite of all of the things that have happened, that I need to acknowledge. And the reason I mention this is because everyone thinks it's so easy to start a business, or you have to, everyone has a struggle story, and it's not like, I feel like I have worked hard. I have not struggled in life. So I feel like that is a big distinction that people need to understand, especially when new people ask me about starting a company, and I'm like, do you have that safety net to fall back on? Even today, I feel like if the company fails, God forbid that doesn't happen, but if it does, I have like 3-4 backup plans, right, in terms of my parents, friends, all those things, where I can fall back on and not be completely like, oh, I don't know what to do. And by this time, I have built a network enough where tomorrow, if I need a job, I can message somebody and be like, I want to work with you. So that is something that people need to acknowledge, at least when they are starting. But my journey was, most of it has just been a surprise or a coincidence or something like that. Nothing majorly planned.
But this is absolutely brilliant. I mean, your journey, quite a roller coaster ride, I would say, with a lot of emotions. And as a teen, you're still figuring out life. And I remember when I was in Xavier's, there was a lot of things. And just to tell you a little bit about what happened to me. So I was the topper in my school. It was a small school in this place in Ghatkopar, one of the suburbs. Small school, but I was a topper in my 10th standard. And when I went to college, I had scored 80.40, 80.40 percentage. And I went to college, and the first day of the introduction, and people asking, okay, so where you're from and how much did you score? I said 80. I didn't even feel like saying the point 40. But what I noticed is all the other people, they had like 79.84 point, and they were emphasizing that, hey, you know what? That's the point that we have earned, and I had no clue about it. Till the time I saw the merit list. I didn't even come in the first. I applied for science, by the way. I didn't even get the first merit list. I got the second one. But to my surprise, when I actually saw this arts merit list, and that's when I realized, the demand for arts in Xavier's, because the third list was closing it at 90%. And I was like, what?
Yeah. And that was in that time. Like today, I know that things close at like 96 or like 97, which is crazy to think of.
Yes. Back then, when I was there, the principal was Father Fraser Mascarenes.
Yes.
Yeah. So amazing. I've learned a lot from him, and there were amazing teachers, and the entire culture there was very different. I remember one of the best lessons that I've learned from there was Mr. Jadhav. I'm not sure if you've heard about this, but he was a
history.
Yes, history. Yeah. So a lot of people don't know, but I saw this guy, and to my surprise, this was uh, Mr. Thackeray's son, okay, Aditya. Aditya was in the same classroom while Mr. Jadhav was delivering. Yeah, while Mr. Jadhav was delivering a social science lecture, and that is the first time I met Aditya, and I saw this guy. So funny incident. I was using my phone, and phones were not allowed. Backbencher, we were using phone. I don't tell this to others, but I'll share this on the podcast. So I was using my phone. And one amazing life lesson that I learned from Mr. Jadhav is he walks in, takes away the phone of all the 4 guys, and says, okay, you know what? You have to pay only then you will get the phone back. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I have no money right now. I will pay tomorrow, day after. And he said, okay, the other guys paid. I said, I'll do it later. It was not a huge amount, it's about 10, 20 rupees, whatever it was, but small amount. Uh, but the fine had to be paid. And he said, if you really need your phone, the fine needs to be paid. If you don't have money right now, it's okay. And he took out the money from his own pocket and he said, okay, here, I am putting it on your behalf. So tomorrow, day after, whenever you get that money and give it to me. And I said, okay. For almost a week, I was avoiding him because I didn't want to pay him the money. I thought I will just get along with it and just run away from him. And it interestingly happened. So a week later, when I was in his lecture, I thought he might have forgotten or things like that. But deep inside, I was feeling that guilt that, hey, you know what, maybe I've spoiled my relation, burned bridges because he's not the same with me. So I went to him and I said, hey, you know what, I'm sorry. Here's the money. And this is what it is. I'm sorry that, I've been avoiding you. And he said something very beautiful. It changed me as a teenage guy. He said, it is not about the money. It was never about the money. You made a promise, you did not keep it. It's that commitment. And that hit me so hard because now also I remember whenever I have to take up a new client for my training or a coaching, I always get that flash of that message that, hey, you know what, it's about commitment. If you can't deliver, don't commit. Do only what you can. Don't overcome it. Stays with me. And life lessons. Has there been any life lessons like this that happened to you during college or maybe through your first gig?
So I feel there have been multiple life lessons. If I had to pick one by somebody that I have known, would be like in Xavier's. Yes, I feel like in Xavier's the culture itself was um, a big way to introduce life, to you. And I really like that Xavier's was strict. This is something that I know that a lot of people have thoughts against, which is basically you cannot wear sleeveless, you cannot wear shorts. And, a lot of people were like, this is not right. And attendance is so strict.
Yes.
I was so scared of coming on the blacklist. So all of that has happened. And I think that taught me discipline in whatever space. I remember, Father Fraser during our orientation mentioned about this, and this point has stuck in my head, is that he's like, it's not that we don't want you to enjoy life, which is why we are giving you a dress code and asking you to be on time, but any professional space that you're in requires a certain decorum.
Yes.
And he said that what if I come here in shorts and then deliver this lecture to you? Would you feel that I'm the principal of this college? And, at that point, I was like, it was a very new concept to me of understanding how important it is to have a decorum and details in life. That is something that I feel is something I carry till today, is just understanding the purpose of a disciplined life. And that is something that Xavier's taught me big time. And it was such a balanced life, right? Like you had to do extracurricular, you had to do the social service,
Yes.
and you had to do a certain certain format of assignments, and you cannot copy it. We didn't have ChatGPT, and I remember even though we didn't have ChatGPT,
it was a very good time.
They used to run it through the software. Yeah, they used to run it also through the software to check if like we have copied sources and not cited it. And I'm like, this is so much of detailing. But I think through that, I sort of understood that when you kind of build a professional environment around you, your productivity becomes 10x.
Very
like
true.
I feel like when I looked at people from other colleges versus Xavier's, and why Xavier's is why it is because of this, right? It's because of systems. So I think that was my first introduction to systems, discipline, productivity, and very glad that came early on, because I don't think you can learn this later in life, and if you do, it's very difficult.
Very
And that was something that we had been molded into. So I was just out of college, which was anyway like a school, school space, which has like, you have to have lunch at this time, you have to study at this time. So that was a timetable set. But when you come into Xavier's, I think you are taught responsibility because you have to do your assignments and all of those things. So there is some bit of autonomy to make decisions, but there is also a very strict schedule that you
Hmm.
follow, right? So I think that is one life lesson. What life lesson? I think that's my whole life. Like just having things on system is just my whole life,
That
and that
reflects
for
in who
me
you
came
are
through
today
college.
also. That is something that reflects in who you are today also, because you are very systematic. You plan things, you don't like things abrupt. You are very systematic. Absolutely brilliant. And I love to chat with you more about, about your first venture. What are some of the challenges that you encountered along the way? What are some of the life lessons that you had, outside of work possibly? Are there any movies, songs, books, mentors, people who had really, really good impact on you? And then we'll obviously answer the big question as to, have you found your purpose? And if yes, through you, what is that one thing that you would suggest people do, maybe systematically, to also be able to find their purpose, lead life meaningfully? But having said that, thank you so much. This is part one of our amazing, amazing, amazing conversation with Sharon. Stay tuned for part two. Thank you so much, and stay subscribed.